Not them having Clary make a birth control rune, y'all. I'm dead. Hello, 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 and welcome back to my channel. Okay, today we're going to be talking about the Dark Artifices series. So if you don't know what those are, they are right here. Right here. Them big books right here. So I actually have these in a box set. I have the Mortal Instruments, the Infernal Devices, and the Dark Artifices series in a box set on my bookshelf. And let me know in the comments if you do this as well. I do this thing where I don't like taking my books out of their wrapping because I don't know. They just look so good. They just look so preserved, you know? So I don't want to take them out. So what I did is I went to my library, which shout out to the local libraries. Y'all, if you need to read a book and you, one, cannot afford to keep buying a bunch of books, or two, you just, like me, very weird, don't want to take it out of the wrapping, you want it to stay preserved and cute, go to your library and see if they have that book. Because I went and I found all three of these and I was like, yeah, let me get them, let me take them. So I have until January 21st or 13th, one of them, don't remember, to read these, review them, put them back. And I think that's what I will be doing for the foreseeable future. Going to my library, picking some books, and if I really like them, then I'll purchase them and add them to my collection. But I really wanted to read the Dark Artifices, and we'll just like start off with going through each one. So the first one is Lady Midnight, book 1. This is what I'm going to start with because obviously you're going to start with the first one in the series. Don't even try me right now. But Lady Midnight, thick. Then Lord of Shadows, the second book, thick. And then the thickest one of them all, Queen of Air and Darkness. Can someone please explain to me why these books are so thick? Let us start there because the ones in the box set don't look that thick. But then again, I don't think they're original. I don't think they're original copies. They're not like the original artwork like these, but damn. The box set look cute though. If you're wondering why I'm looking over there, that's where my bookshelf is. So I'm looking like right at the box set. But them books is thick, child. They are thick. But let's get into it. Okay, so it has been a week and a half and I'm done. Did it take me longer than I thought it would? Yes. Is that because I didn't expect this semester to start and run me over like a 18-wheeler? Yes. But I have notes and I'm just gonna go through them. I'm just gonna like jump around with the plot because I'm going to assume that you've already read this book. This is definitely a spoiler review. Let me start off with I do not recommend, like I understand that yes, trilogies that are a part of a certain universe can definitely be read regardless of if you've read the previous books. I'm going to say that I definitely got more enjoyment and more value out of reading this book having read the Mortal Instruments and the Infernal Devices series beforehand. That's all I'm going to say. If you don't want to, that's fine. If you're planning to read this as like a standalone, that's okay too. But there are quite a few characters that come up like Clary, Jace. Well, they mention Clary, Jace, Magnus, Simon, Isabel, Alec in this book. The only ones who actually have any interactions with the characters of this book are Clary, Jace, Magnus, and Robert towards the end. But from the Infernal Devices, they have Jem and Tessa coming up a lot. Well, they come up and then they actually have interactions at the end of the book. So there are a lot of cameos from characters in the past 2 series of this universe. You probably wouldn't understand the significance of that if you didn't read the other ones. There are also different things. Like, it's basically a sequel of what happened in the Mortal Instruments. It happening 5 years after the Dark War. You're not gonna truly understand how the Dark War was if you didn't experience the whole build-up and then the climax of it in the Mortal Instruments. You're not gonna understand how absolutely irritating Sebastian is, and you're not gonna get some of the jokes. Like, for instance, when Emma was talking about Clary and Jace, and she brings up the fact that they thought they were siblings before, because I guess we're saying the quiet part out loud, Cassie. I guess we're doing that. But you're not gonna truly understand exactly how wild that is unless you've read the Mortal Instruments. So, yeah. You don't have to, but that's I'm just saying. Anyways, the plot of this book follows Emma Carstairs and Julian Blackthorne. If you have read The Infernal Devices, and the Infernal Devices mostly, and I think in the Mortal Instruments you do understand the Herondale connection. But anywho, we're gonna get into that. Jem Carstairs was one of the main characters in The Infernal Devices. He is in this book as well, but he is technically an ancestor of Emma. I don't think he's like an uncle, because I'm pretty sure Jem has been up and kicking for 150 years now, probably more. But anywho, Emma and Julian are trying to solve a series of murders that have been going on that have the same characteristics as 5 years ago when Emma's parents' body was found after the Dark War. They blamed their murders on Sebastian and the whole events of the Dark War, but Emma didn't actually believe that. She thinks that it had nothing to do with that. And spoiler, it didn't. But who, with any experience with reading these books and understanding the clave, would be surprised that they did not believe her? Like, they are the most irritating people in this book. But yeah, they're investigating a series of murders, them and all of the side characters in this book. And there are so many side characters. There's so many side characters to deal with in this one book. But let's get into the characters, shall we? We're gonna start off with Emma. I like Emma. She actually reminds me a lot of like Jace in the Mortal Instruments, except I like Emma more than I like Jace. And I don't know if that's an unpopular opinion, but I like her a hell of a lot more than I liked Clary in the Mortal Instruments. If I'm being very honest with you, I liked Clary more in this book than I did in the entire Mortal Instruments series. But I digress. We're talking about Emma. She is a great protagonist. She is always ready to go and give us the action that we're getting in this book, because if I'm being honest, it started off as a little bit of a slow read. There wasn't really much happening, but that's because they were like building up the characters, building up the context of everything before we actually got into the meat and bones of what was going on. I liked Emma. She kept me entertained at that time, but she wasn't the only person that kept me entertained. You'll hear about my favorite character out of all of them at the end. But anywho, Emma's interesting. I feel bad for what happened with her parents, but I'm glad that she didn't give up on finding out who did it, and she went around, behind the Clave's back, which apparently is very easy to do. It's very easy to do things behind their back. I thought they were the govy. I thought they were the government. They are not acting very govy-like. Well, anywho, so I like that she went around and still tried to figure out what was happening with her parents, but didn't make that her entire personality, She didn't make getting revenge her entire personality, because that would have been boring, and I'm not interested in dealing with that I actually had a note on here that says she's about to have the worst pain in her knees when she's older because she always jumping off something. She's always jumping off something, whether it's climbing up a rope, jumping off a roof, she always jumping off something. And I'm like, girl, are you not concerned about getting the rightest in your knees? Like, my God. Anyways, the only thing, well, not the only thing, but the main thing that Emma did in this book that pissed me off was at the end when she asked Jem to tell her about the Parvati curse, and she finds out about it and does not tell Julian anything about it. Instead, just comes up with this entire plan to be like, hey, I don't love you as much as you think you do. I don't love you enough to be waiting around for you to raise them kids who you were forced to raise because your mom and dad are no longer with us. And you're technically the oldest sibling because the other two got yeeted off the island. I don't love you enough to wait for you to raise all of them damn kids. So you should probably give up on me. But since I know you're not, I'm gonna go and get with your brother. Even though you have shared with me your insecurities about me and your brother getting together. I swear to you, oh my gosh, I read it and I was just like, bro, not even that. At the end, when she actually went to go tell Mark, hey, I need you to pretend to be my boyfriend. It's for the good of Julian. You know, I did you a solid. You said you were okay with doing me a solid. This is the solid that I want you to do. And he's just like, oh, so you want us to like pretend to everybody? We don't need to get anybody else involved. It's just the two of us knowing that we're pretending to be in this relationship. Like we're gonna make everybody think that we've been falling in love this whole time and doing the stuff that people do in relationships. And she's like, yeah. And he's like, oh, why lie? Why lie about that part? And I'm like, Emma, I swear to God, Emma, if you go and if she did Mark in between the end of Lady Midnight and the beginning of Lord of Shadows, if I take up Lord of Shadows right now, because after I'm done filming this, I'm about to get into it. If I take up that book and find out that her and Mark did the nasty in her room right after she went to go tell Julian that she wasn't in love with him, and Mark walked in, no knocking by the way, that was your fault, you probably should have had some manners, but he went, found out that Christina was making out with Diego, said absolutely nothing, closed the door, so he in his feelings, she in her feelings. If I found out that they did the nasty in the end of the book, I swear to you, I don't know how I'm gonna react, but that, messy, okay? And I love it. That's what I'm reading this for in the first place. But let's move on to Julian. So Julian, most of my notes are about how bad I feel that he had to like raise all of his siblings at the age of 12, and he got a lot of them. He has quite a few. Those are 4 children that you had to raise. That is wild. I personally, and I don't know if this is an unpopular opinion, I don't think that Julian should be looking towards Emma as a romantic figure. And I don't know if it's just me, but I feel like Julian romanticizes Emma because she's the only one in that household aside from Diana, but Diana doesn't live there and he spent most of his time with Emma anyways. She's the only one that he doesn't really have to worry about taking care of, right? He doesn't have to worry about if she had anything to eat, is she okay, what's going on with her, blah, blah, blah. He doesn't have to worry about her outside of, you know, her and her reckless tendencies to do things. Yeah. I feel like that's where the attraction is coming from. That's what I got from reading it anyways. I think he feels quite a bit of resentfulness from having to take on the responsibility of father instead of brother. And it's a lot for a 12-year-old. It is. And I feel bad for him but I don't ship him and Emma. I'm so sorry. I understand that they're probably going to end up together at the end because that is the trope that we're going with. The whole forbidden friends to lovers thing, because they're parabatai and they're not supposed to be together. But I don't know. I don't know. And part of the reason why I feel that way, and I have it in my notes, I wrote it down perfectly in my notes, how I was feeling. Whew. I was like, I don't think he and Emma need to be together right now. I think that he needs to deal with his resentment from having to take on the father role for his siblings before thinking about anything romantic. If he really wanted to be with Emma and saw her as a partner and a parabatai, he would not have hid so much from her. Because I refuse to believe that if I was dealing with that situation and I am portrayed to be someone who is mature beyond my years because I had to deal with this situation, and I have someone who I've went through the entire ceremony. They talk about the parabatai ceremony as if, oh my God, this is the end all be all aside from marriage. Like, this is the highest commitment you can make to each other aside from like being married to each other. And you had that ceremony done with Emma, carved the runes into each other, feeling what each other feels, all of that. And you still, because if we look at it, their parabatai ceremony was when they were 15. They're 17 now. So that is 2 years. And we know that he's been keeping the secret for longer than that. But let us just go with parabatai. That is 2 years of you lying to her about your uncle's condition and you having to run the institute. You are supposed to not have any secrets from this person. You're supposed to feel the most comfortable with this person, blah, blah, blah. And then you say that you love them on top of all of that. But you could keep that big of a secret that has been affecting you for so long from them. You felt, never did you feel a time where you're just like, yep, I'm going to unburden myself from this lie and I'm going to tell Emma that I'm the one that's been running the institute as well as taking care of my grown ass uncle hiding from the clave that, you know, this is what's happening. I'm doing all of the head of the institute things as well as being a father to these 4 children. I'm sorry. I cannot believe that that is something that you do. It's the equivalent of how I feel about Mark and Kieran's relationship, because another unpopular opinion, I also don't think that they should be together, because what Kieran did running back to Gwen and Jarl, I think his name is Jarl. Correct me if I'm wrong in the comments. But what he did running back, I don't mess with it. But yeah, I don't ship Julian and Emma. I think that Julian has to go see some type of Shadowhunter therapist, which was made very clear in this book that they don't think about those things. But anywho, moving along. Those are my thoughts on those two. We're gonna get to my favorite character of the book, which is Christina. I love me some Christina, okay? Christina was the best character in this book, hands down. Argue with your mom. I don't care. My notes on Christina, because I love her. So, first note, my favorite character in this book. Then I go into, I love that she knows exactly when to mind her own business. I do. I love that she knows when to mind her own business. The amount of times that some stuff was happening in this book and Christina was just like people are just like, oh yeah, this is happening. And then by the time I look over, I see Christina excusing herself and like walking through the door and closing it. And I'm like, absolutely, because that would be me. That would be me. The stuff that Christina does in this book is exactly what I would be doing if I were in these situations. Like, I noticed that you're in love with your parabatai and y'all are having a little moment. And I know that y'all not supposed to be doing that because you're breaking the law. I'm peacing out. I'm leaving. I'm not just going to sit here and intrude on that moment. 1, it's awkward. 2, it's illegal. Bye. Like, that's enough for me. I love that Christina knows when to mind her own business and leave. Okay? So I was just like, If she can read anything, it's a room, honey. I don't blame her for leaving. And I was referring to Mexico because if I sat there, listen, that's another thing of mess. I love how Cassandra loves her some forbidden love and some mess, okay? Because when we found out why Christina left Mexico and decided to be a shadow hunter foreign exchange student, I was like, I get it. I would have done the same thing. I'm not even gonna lie. However, I think that I would be a little hesitant in leaving because, okay, let me start off. Christina was doing a little eavesdropping, you know, and her best friend and her first love, Diego and Jamie. Jamie was her best friend, Diego first love. This is where it gets weird because this is two different types of mess. But let's get into the first one. The first one is she overhears them talking, and apparently Jamie's drunk or something and telling Diego that he has a plan to overthrow Christina's branch of the family because he thinks that it's the wrong branch of the family to be in power in the Institute. So he has hatched up a plan where he becomes Christina's Parvati, and since Christina's in love with Diego can marry her, and they can use these two angles to overthrow her and take over power of the Institute. And I was like, hold on. That's wild. That is wild. That is mad disrespectful, and I do not understand how Diego doesn't see that is a problem. Because his excuse for all of this is, I don't understand why you left because, like, I couldn't defend you. I couldn't, like, talk to Jamie when he's like that. You know how he is when he's drunk. I was just like, drunk words are sober thoughts. That is what that man was thinking. How is he your best friend? You can't say, oh yeah, you're my best friend, but when you get drunk, you think about overthrowing my family. Like, that is wild. Absolutely not. But let us move on from there and really connect the dots, because the dots didn't connect in my head until closer to the end of the book when Christina was treating Diego of his wounds that he got from fighting at the Convergence. And they're just like, oh yeah, our hands came together, and she was describing the fact that they were wearing the same family ring. It's just that the difference is the inscription on the inside, because his branch is Rocio and her branch is something else. And I was just like, hold on. Are they related? Like, I'm pretty sure that they're probably like cousins twice or 3 times removed or something like that. But they are related. And I'm like, I thought we left this in the Mortal Instruments. I thought we left this in the Mortal Instruments. Please tell me if I'm wrong in the comments, because what the I'm going to move on. Yeah, we are going to move on because I cannot. I really can't. So we're gonna continue my notes. I was just like, I get that she was eavesdropping, but damn, that was harsh. I would like to see more of her in the next 2 books. I think the reason why I love her character so much is because she says most of the things that I'm feeling during this book. For instance, at the end, when she was talking to Emma and telling her that it must have been very lonely for Malcolm to have endured all that pain and suffering and betrayal by himself and shoulder the burden of believing that his love had abandoned him, but then finding out that he was the one that abandoned her, was definitely a point. She was making some very good points in this book, and I love her for it. I really do. The only issue that I'm having is that I feel like she's related to Diego, and it's weird. But anyways, moving along, we're gonna go to Diana, and I don't really have much to say about Diana because she didn't show up that much in the books. Like, she showed up enough for you to be aware of her presence and for them to set up a whole thing where they thought it was the same as the instructor betrayal in the Mortal Instruments, but it wasn't. But they did do that setup, and I'm gonna say I didn't dislike that. But anywho, I was like, I assume she's going to be in more scenes in the new book, in the next 2 books, so that we can learn what secret she's hiding, because they continued telling us that she was hiding secrets, but they didn't tell us anything about it. So I'm expecting that to be some, plot development in the next 2 books. Arthur. I only have one thing to say about Arthur. They say Arthur is crazy, but he's spitting at the end of the book. No lies were told, period, point blank. I wonder what the fairies did to him to break his mind. He was definitely spitting when Robert was trying to when Robert was trying to question the kids after they came back from the Convergence fight and found him, Clary, Jace, and Magnus all up in their living room, like, oh, what's going on? But was Arthur wrong? No, he wasn't. Moving on. Johnny Rook. I'm still confused on if he is Tobias Herondale or not. I am. Someone please tell me. I don't want to Google it because I feel like if I Google it, I'm going to go down a rabbit hole and it's going to spoil those 2 books for me. But somebody please tell me if he is Tobias Herondale or not, because they were talking about it and they were saying, oh yeah, your father. And I don't know if they were differentiating the fact that he technically raised Kit or if he was Tobias. Because Tobias got like sentenced for deserting, so like he got the sentence and they carried it out on his pregnant wife, which yikes. But anyways, is he Tobias or not? I know he's a shadow hunter named Jonathan, maybe. I don't, whatever. Moving along. Am I the only one confused about that? Did I just not pick that up while reading? Probably, yes. Kit. I knew he was a shadow hunter. I knew that Kit was a shadow hunter from the beginning of the book, when Emma like just kept flicking her eyes at him and like noticing him. It seemed significant, but we did not see him again for probably 300 pages. And I was like, yeah. Anywho, I didn't know he was a Herondale. But I knew that the revelation that he was a shadow hunter was going to happen in the series. I just didn't know it was going to happen in this book. Yes. Moving along to Malcolm. Okay, in my notes for Malcolm, I have him being the guardian was definitely a good plot twist. Wasn't great, but it was definitely a good plot twist. That's some nasty work though, to be the person who has been committing all these murders and who murdered Emma's parents but smiling up in her face frequently. Yikes. If there's an afterlife in this universe, he's about to be pissed to find out that Annabelle woke up. Although I think it's a mixture of the ocean and his blood that resurrected her. When I found out that Malcolm was the guardian, the only thing that I could think of was, I cannot believe that this man has been sitting down here, smiling and giggling and laughing in Emma's face, knowing that he's the one that did what he did to her parents. We're not even going to get into the fact that it was an experiment. It didn't even contribute to his end goal in the first place. It was just, yeah, they were the only ones here. So, like, they were the first ones to get back to the Institute, and, I just saw the opportunity, and I took it, and I was like, my dude, you are talking to this girl like, you had a chance encounter to go skydiving or to go, like, fishing or something, and I'm like, bro, you fully murked her parents. Like, why are you talking to her like this? I was so befuddled. I was like, wow, that is wild. I very much enjoyed it. But anyway, I feel bad for him because, he was doing all of this for love, and to be very honest with you, they should have figured that it was him when he was not helping at all. Because, like, in the past books, I feel like I got it because in the past books, Magnus did so much to help them. Like, so much. He put his whole High Warlock title on the line multiple times to assist them. And we see Malcolm coming back after, like, 2 weeks. with the inscription and being like, yeah, I got nothing. With all of your connections as a high warlock of LA. Okay. Anyways, it took Tavi. Tavi figured it out before Malcolm. Anywho, moving along. Let's go talk on to Mark, okay? Mark, the bisexual representation that I wanted in this book. I love Mark. I really do. I might not if I find out that him and Emma were doing some slick work and doing the do in her room. But anywho, my notes on Mark: he might tell a joke, but he ain't never tell a lie. I fully agree with his cold and callous treatment of Kieran because what he did was petty and disgusting. He knew how the whippings would affect Mark. I get that he didn't know that is what was going to happen, but he was moving extremely selfish because one, what Mark and Christina were doing in the kitchen did not give me, oh, I'm cheating on you. Because did Kieran not say, yeah, sure, you could do what you want with her, give her your body, but don't give her your heart? I would not have equated that to him cheating. Sure, I understand that it's a very loose thing in fairy. They don't really consider a lot of things cheating. But if I was eavesdropping through the window and I saw them on the floor chatting, you know, dirty dishes all over the place, ketchup on the walls, I personally would not think in my head that the first thing that I would do is run back to the people who have been torturing this man ever since they kidnapped him from his family and tell them, oh, I saw him do this, this, and that, and expect that the punishment, like we've been saying this whole time, they've been saying in this book this whole time that fairies are cruel. They've been saying this. This is a well-known thing. Kieran, a fairy, the son of the Unseelie King, is very aware of the fact that fairies are cruel. That man threw you into the wild hunt just because you were the closest available of the 36 sons. Like, why in your head, with all the knowledge that you have of fairy, would you think that if you go back and tell them that Mark told Christina, a shadow hunter, how Gwyn's like invulnerability, Gwyn clearly wasn't that pressed about it when he came up. He did not give me, I'm upset and I want revenge. Why would you think they're gonna drag him back to fairy and pull him back into the wild hunt when most of his punishments, because clearly he knows what the whipping is, he's experienced it before and he's traumatized by it, and everybody's thinking if this happens to him then he's gonna have like a whole mental break and he's never gonna be the same. Why would you think that they would give him any other punishment? It's just, it wasn't making sense to me. It was not making sense to me. But anyways, he knew how the whippings would affect Mark because he's clearly seen it happen before, and he betrayed him anyways just because he was jealous. I think Mark and Emma in the end scene are acting out of hurt. Mark because he just walked in on Christine and Diego kissing, and Emma because of what's going on with Julian. If I start this next book and find out they did more than just kiss, that is foul. That is wild. As you can see, I have feelings about this. I'm about to be... I'm ready for the mess. Honestly, if they do it, it's not like I'm gonna stop reading it. But anywho. I didn't make any notes about Livy, Ty, Drew, or Tavi because they're there. If they do some other stuff in the other two books, sure. The only thoughts that I have are they make Livy and Ty out to be like, you know, these really, really close twins who are basically on Parabatai level. But Livy doesn't understand that Ty is absolutely not interested in becoming her Parabatai. I think that she's trying to do it so that if anybody finds out about what's going on with Ty, then she is like, they can't separate them because they have this like bond that's, I don't know why they wouldn't just not separate them because they're siblings, but I guess that she wants something that is acknowledged by the Clave, something that they actually respect, which is, you know, their own customs, the Parvati bond. So if anything happens, they can't separate Ty from her, which then translates to they can't take him away from his family. I wish she would communicate that if that is what she was thinking. That's just what I get from it. I really do wish she would communicate that, because that is definitely that's a loophole. That is a loophole. I made notes on two characters that I don't really see as super relevant to the plot because they don't really come up that much, but it's on Yarlth. I really hope I'm pronouncing properly. Yarlth and Robert Lightwood. So the notes I have on Yarl is I don't like him. He seems like he has a deep hatred for Shadowhunters, specifically Blackthorns. Honestly, it might be because, and I'm just speculating here, Lady Nerissa died because of giving birth. Not surprised to find out that he was part of both the Dark War and Malcolm's plan, and I bet he did it just for fun because he knew he could get rid of his enemies that way. No other reason, actually, other than getting back at Shadowhunters. The Fairy Court needs to look into the fact that he's willing to put them in danger over his weird grudge with Shadowhunters. Yes, all of that. Yeah. I think that if I were the fairy, like the Seelie Queen and the Unseelie King, I would have issues with Yarlth being a part of my court because you're already not in the best of light with the Shadowhunters considering the Dark War, and he was a part of that. And now we have this other thing going on that is probably going to bring on the Clave because I don't believe that they're going to keep themselves out of it. And that's also because of Yarlth. He is a large liability right now, and I would not want to have him in my court. I'm sorry. But moving on to Robert. My notes on Mr. Lightwood is it's nice to see some consistency with him being just as infuriating as he was in the Mortal Instruments series. I don't believe that he or the Clave are going to let them off this easy. I really don't. Even with the interjection of Jason Clary, I don't think that he's about to let this go. I think he's about to go and snitch on them to the Clave. And then it's going to bring on a whole investigation. But moving along, let me get into my thoughts on the entire plot. We're done with characters now. My thoughts. Not Clary creating a birth control. It literally says in here, not Clary creating a birth control rune, LMAO. And then I thought while I was reading, wouldn't Jem and well, not Tessa necessarily, but wouldn't Jem be, you know, not around anymore? But then we find out that Jem was the silent brother Zachariah, who I'm sure popped up a lot. Because it's not the first time I'm hearing that name in there. I think he popped up in the Mortal Instruments. But yeah. And Tessa's half warlock, so she ain't finna be gone anytime soon. Another one. Not Christina catching Marcus and Kieran. Not her liking it. Miss Christina looking like she want to have a triple horizontal tango, which it's not that kind of book. This is a YA book. The next one is I took some time to think about it, and I kind of believe that Mark told Christina that he really likes her, and then not 5 minutes later he's tonguing down Karen. I found that so interesting because I was like, he's sitting there, they just get back, they're standing there talking, and he's just like, oh yeah, I really like you, and then Kieran just randomly appears, and then he tells Christina, like Mark tells Christina to like get her ass back in the institute, and she goes in, but then curiosity gets the best of her, and she peeks out. I noticed that she has like a little eavesdropping thing, girl, because isn't that what you did with Julian and with what's his name, Diego and his brother? And I'm just like, Christina. But I'm glad that she went back to go look, because all she sees is Mark pressed up against the tree making out with Kieran, and I was like, girl, he just said that he likes you. That is wild. Anywho, moving along. Another note. We get it. His cologne smells like cloves. We get it. No, we do, Cassandra. We get it. There's only so many times that you can describe the sea and describe the wild hunt until I don't care anymore. Same with blackthorn hair and eyes. I understand, I get it, that they have a specific hair and eye set. Okay, I get that they have the dark hair. I get that they get the blue-green eyes. I understand. I get it. You don't have to keep telling me every chapter. Every chapter you're gonna tell me, oh my god, yes, Julian and his blackthorn curls. Yes, the blackthorn eyes. And I'm like, okay, we understand. You don't need to tell us anymore. But moving on. I don't think they're aware of their reputation with downworlders. Like the incident at Johnny Rook's with Ty, the man is genuinely concerned about his kid. You come to his house needing something and Julian is texting the whole time. For all he knows, you're planning on holding his son at knife point for answers all along. That's why he's so quick to go into the protection circle, and that's why downworlders don't like y'all. I stand on the whole, they don't understand how they look to downworlders and and the distrust that they have to downworlders. Not even because of their own movements, but hello, y'all don't even like the clave. What do you think downworlders think about it? What? Y'all are like the police of the Shadowhunters like universe. Anywho, moving along. This does not change even though I realize that Johnny Rook was a Shadowhunter. It actually affirms my point. Moving along. It took 422 pages for them to finally kiss. Talk about a slow burn. I wish they had some adults around when they were 15 to warn them not to do this. I'm referring to Emma and Julian becoming Parvati. Because I feel like they went through the ceremony because there were no solid, steady adults around to realize that these two may have romantic feelings for each other and not just best friend feelings. Yeah, stand by that point too. So they did indeed do the nasty on the beach. That was skirted around so well, Cassandra. I didn't even realize until after she was talking about how she has the birth control rune from Clary. Yeah, didn't know that I thought they were just making out and then like fell asleep in each other's arms. But no, they actually did the nasty. And someone saw them post nasty. Come to find out it was Malcolm. They're lucky it wasn't somebody from a cliff. Anywho. So the Wren that Sterling killed was the same Wren Kit was flirting with at the market. I thought that was a good touch. I thought that was a very good touch. At the part where the trio comes to the Institute to issue punishment on Mark for revealing secrets and starts whipping everybody, you cannot tell me that with all the screaming and commotion going on outside, everybody else is still asleep. They got soundproof walls in the Institute. Are y'all not Shadowhunters? Like, why is everybody in this place sleeping soundly while Emma and Julian are screaming bloody murder from being whipped outside? I'm so confused. They don't hear all of this commotion? Like, that was the most confusing thing to me. I was like, what is going on here? Anywho, moving along. Why would Kieran think that the punishment for giving away the biggest secret of the hunt would be that he would go back to Fairy? I don't even think that Kieran realized that in doing that, he just confirmed that Mark would never go back to Fairy. He basically made his decision for him. There was no scenario where Mark would be going back to Fairy after this. This was a plot device to get him to stay with the family. And we have 2 more books. Let's see how this goes. Why did it take 536 pages for them to admit they love each other? Who knows? I'm glad Mark didn't forgive Kieran because what he did was not out of love. Me personally, I could not date Diego if I were Christina because Diego's brother had some very wild things to say about my family and some very interesting plans. Yeah. And then at another part, I was just like, are Diego and Christina somewhat related? Because what the F? Stand by that. Does the Clave not realize that by implementing all of these rigid laws that they're creating most of the enemies that they're fighting and making more work for themselves? Have they not learned from past mistakes? Because really though, how many of these issues that were Sebastian, a result of Valentine being weird and being angry at the Clave? In Infernal Devices, the Clave made absolutely no effort to help Jem other than, yeah, just become a silent brother. In this, the whole reason why all of this is happening is because of the Clave's rules about dating downworlders, and then Annabelle getting tombed up and, you know, basically left to die, and then Malcolm having this whole love grudge. Y'all, with your rules and your non-flexibility of the rules, are creating the enemies that are trying to completely bring you down. Because we haven't seen any enemy that is mad at the Clave come in and being like, oh yeah, let me just, you know, do a little bit. No, they do a lot. They put everything into bringing the Clave down, and I'm just like, these are the consequences of y'all's own actions. But moving along. My last note was Jem and Tessa talk about the Carstairs and the Carstairs owing the Herondales, but never mention Will. All the other side characters from the Mortal Instruments have been mentioned, but Will isn't mentioned, and he was a main character in the Infernal Devices. Weird. I thought that was weird as well. I really did. I thought that was strange. But moving along. Lastly, we're going to talk about my predictions for the next book. This is what I think is going to happen. We'll see if they come true. So I have Clary and Jace are going to show up more because of Kit. Yeah, we find out that Kit is a Herondale, like the missing Christopher Herondale. Yeah. I think we're going to explore that a little bit more because that happened right at the end of the book. Annabelle is about to find out what happened to Malcolm if she doesn't already know, and she's going to seek revenge and become the antagonist of either the next book or the last one, or both. Either in the last book or the next one, Emma and Julian, probably Emma, will have to admit this love thing and the lie with Emma and Mark. I think it might be during an inquisition where one of them is holding the mortal sword and the truth is dragged out of them. Yeah, I think that's something that's going to happen. And we will see more of Jem and Tessa, which I actually want to. I love Jem and Tessa. I really just wish they would, you know, mention Will a little bit more, because I love Will. Okay, I love me some Will Herondale. He is probably my favorite character out of all 3 series so far. Let's see if he's dethroned, but I highly doubt it. But yeah, that was everything. That was all of my thoughts. You know, if you made it this far, thank you so much. I will be coming back with Lord of Shadows whenever I actually finish. I don't know. I have so many assignments due, so we will definitely see, child. We will see. Also, actually, a thought just popped into my head. If they were trying to convince Kit, other than getting him to like open the Institute door, why did they not just ask him if he has a star birthmark? Because isn't that a thing with all the Herondales, that they have the star birthmark? Or am I tripping? Is that not what happened? Like, we found out how it happened with Will in the Infernal Devices. Why didn't they just say, oh, we know that you're a Herondale and we've never seen you before. This is the first time we're meeting, but we know you have a star birthmark. That would have been nice. But anyways, moving along. See y'all in the next one. Bye.